Hi, I'm Brooke. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about time moving around in different ways, and maybe how we can have more fun with it and shift our perspective of time. I have had some very unusual things happen to me with my time these days. And so I'm going to share some stories with you. I would love to hear your stories. If you've had any bizarre and exciting time differences, changes, activities. Time is something I'm very interested in. And in making these videos, I'm very interested in, like, I want to live in a world where time, everything is very malleable, right? And so I'm sharing these stories to put it out there. Like, some things are happening to me that are stretching my consciousness and my awareness of what may be possible. And if you are interested in that, I'm sharing this to maybe unlock something in you, and or if you are already having these experiences, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your stories because I want to grow. And yeah, I mean, I hope that we can all get to a world that really benefits us as individuals, and we can be on our own schedules, that our own rhythms. I think that leads to a happier world. So, before I tell my bizarre time story, I'm going to introduce myself. I am a fine art photographer. I am sitting in my art gallery in Manhattan Beach, California. This is some of my artwork behind me, and there's a little bit of glare. I'm sitting in front of a window, so you can kind of see palm trees, ocean. And what's interesting is that when I really started to create artwork, when it really started to come out of me, one of the first things I noticed, like, something happens, not all the time, but a lot of the times with my artwork, I go into like a zone where it's like space and time sort of go away. I don't know how else to describe it, but I'll get so focused on something, and I can feel everything sort of like disappear, and then I sort of like snap back into place. It's really fun. It's really interesting. I remember the very first time it happened. I was like, whoa, that was awesome. I was taking pictures of flower petals. It had just rained, and so there were these perfect raindrops. Anyway, so my artwork, it's definitely something that helps me understand things like being in the present moment, focus, where you put your focus, is so important, and things like the malleability of space and time. So if you're interested, check it out. I'm going to put some links down below for my website and for my Instagram. So, time. So I have had a couple experiences. No, it's happening a lot. It's more than a couple. But something started to happen where my clocks are showing different times. Wall clock, computer, phone, and they'll all show a different time and then sync up. And I think it's really interesting. And I'll tell you about the first time it happened. So you probably, if you're watching this, I'm guessing you've heard of Bashar. If not, it's like a channeled entity. And if you watch, I posted a video about I had an out of body experience, and I didn't know what the experience was, but so I went looking for answers. And in looking for answers, came across Bashar and started listening to that information. And in the out of body experience, I had been surrounded by a blue light and also was aware of time moving a little different. And so I came across Bashar, and I came across like an old, like guided meditation that, like, in the early years, like I think from the 90s, 80s or 90s, where he does this guided meditation where you're surrounded by a blue light. And when I found that, I was like, maybe this is gonna give me answers about what happened to me, in like that I now know is out of body, but I didn't have a word for it. I didn't know what it was. So I downloaded that guided meditation from Bashar. And the night that I did it, the power was out in my place. So there was no clock on the wall clock was, the power was out, so it wasn't working. And that, there wasn't Wi-Fi either. So I had my laptop and my phone, and they were sharing a hotspot. And anyways, they're both Apple and they always show the same time. As far as I know, all these devices are synced up to the same clock. But these two, the laptop and the phone, they're always showing the same time. And in this particular time, they were really talking to each other. They were sharing a hotspot. So I had the meditation on my computer. I put the phone on silent and I put it in the closet so it wouldn't bother me. Lie down to do the meditation. Really loved it, got right into it. And then about halfway through the meditation, it felt like a car like crash into my house, right? It was like there was like a boom and a noise, right? Like a noise and like a boom noise and a shake. And so I put the meditation on pause. I looked around, everything looked normal. So I come back, lie down, get right back into the meditation, almost like it had never stopped, which I thought was really interesting later. It was like I was right back in. Okay. So I did the meditation was over. I thought to myself, wow, that seemed longer than, like, they had said it was an hour, like the time stamp on the recording. I thought, gee, that seemed longer. It was so good. I was so into it. But I look at my clock on the computer, it says 10:30 p.m. And so I thought, okay, it's time to get ready for bed. I go to my closet, I get my phone. My phone says 10 p.m. And I was like, wait, what? And there's no wall clock, right? The power's still out. So I take my phone to my computer and I Google on my computer, what time is it in Los Angeles? And the computer, there were the Google, Google agrees with the phone, right? It shows 10 p.m. or maybe it's 10:01 at this point. And then I look up at the clock on the computer and it says 10. Now it matches the phone and it matches Google. And I was like, wait, what? That's weird. And so that was interesting, right? So then yeah, I kind of forgot about it, or not forgot, but like I was like, that's weird, and just kind of wrote it off. Then, maybe about 6 months later, I had a private session with Bashar. We could do like a one-on-one Zoom call. And so I did a one-on-one. And after that session, what's interesting, so first of all, what's interesting in that session, I didn't even mention the time thing. I asked all these other questions, but like I said, it happened that once and I guess it wasn't on my mind anymore. But after I had that session, all of a sudden, then my clocks are all showing different times, right? It's not so intense right now, but it went through a period where, like, almost every day, it'd be like the computer says one time, the phone says another time, the wall clock says another time. And I mean, it's like 2 hours different, 1 hour, 15 minutes, it's all different things. It started to like weird me out. Like, am I going crazy? So I did take pictures. I don't know how to, I'm not so good with like the video editing, or maybe I just really don't feel like learning. I tried to hold up. So I have pictures on my phone. Maybe I'll figure out either how to get them in this video. I'm probably not going to do that, but maybe I can like link to them or something. But I started to think maybe I am actually having like something's wrong with my brain. So I got some photographic evidence. There was one day where it was like, I want to say the time on my phone was like 1:55, right? And the time on the computer was like 2:37, right? And so I took a picture of the computer screen with my phone, and it gives a time and date stamp, or like in the phone. And then as soon as I took that picture, it switched where it matched the phone. So then I took another picture where you can see it's like 1 minute later and they're matching. So it's like, okay, I'm not totally insane. So that made me feel better. But and I Googled too. I also Googled, like, do people have like issues with their phone and their computer not showing the same time? And the only thing I could come across was people were saying, well, maybe their laptop is always like a minute slow and then their battery dies, right? But this has been like 2 years or something, and or like a year. I'm trying to think since it's been like regular. 2 years maybe since I did that first meditation, and like a year or so since it's been like showing different times all the time. And so these, it's not just like constant, it'll like I'll look and they'll be different and they'll be like, what's going on here? And it will sync up. Sometimes I will like talk to them and be like, hello, I need to know what time it is. Um, I've got an appointment, like I've got to know what I'm meeting people. So, this is what I do. Talk to my devices, and now I'm talking to you. So, so, so that's what's happening. It's like 2 hours here, half an hour there. There's no consistency, and as soon as I like notice it, it will go back together. So, a couple things. Number one, if you have a story about time, has this happened to anyone else? I'd be so curious. Um, and number two, here's some theories that I have. And I'm pretty sure about this at this point, but that experience, that first Bashar guided meditation, when there was like a boom and a shake, I believe that like for a second there I went out of body. I didn't understand, right? But the fact that like I didn't skip a beat on the meditation, I didn't see my body on the bed, but then again, I was sort of in a haze that maybe I just didn't really realize that there was something where I sort of like shook up the time space. That is my feeling about that because it's a very distinct sound. And now I've had a couple of experiences with out of body, and there is sometimes like jolting, movement, sound when you're moving out of body, when you're shifting frequencies. So I think I triggered it there. And as far as like seeing different time options, now I realize that there are options. Two things. Number one, I did an automatic writing. There was one day, usually it happens if I'm like running late, I'm kind of stressed out, and like 1 o'clock will show like really late. I'm like, what? Am I late for this thing? Because I don't live on like a regular schedule. So if I have an appointment, then I get like, oh, I gotta be on time, right? Um, so I think it reflects like a little bit of anxiety. But then there have been times when, gee, I wish it was earlier, and all of a sudden it will show like the early time that I prefer. And so I did an automatic writing, and what came through was you can choose, it's like an option. You could just choose the earlier time if that's what you want. And, but it's like you're having trouble believing that that's available to you. Because I was like, I don't understand. It could just be like an hour earlier. How could I, what? What about everybody else? But what came through was like, it doesn't matter. It matters what you believe. You're seeing like options. And what's interesting is that say a similar message came through. I said in the out of body video that there's this guy, Darius J. Wright, and he teaches people out of body and has like a whole community. And he just did a workshop on time. And I asked, you can do like a Q&A. So I asked the question, I said, I'm seeing all these different times. And I didn't, say what I thought it was, but what he said was like the same thing where you're kind of seeing different what does he call it? It doesn't necessarily say timelines, but you have like different sort of probabilities in front of you that you can choose. That he says, that in the out of body state, it's easy to see, but he thought that I was seeing some of that in this realm or layer of reality or whatever you want to call it. So, and that's what came through in the automatic writing. Like you're seeing options for yourself. So I thought that was really interesting, and I played around with it a little bit. Where like in the morning, I don't wake up with an alarm clock, but I have a window in my bedroom that's not covered. It's up really high. And so I know like when the light is here, 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 like I know the different hours where the light hits the bed and stuff. And so I'll kind of open my eyes without looking at the clock. I'll be like, I slept too late, right? It was like 10 or 11 or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'll focus. Like I know the light is showing like a certain time, but I'll focus on now it's 9 a.m. It's 9 a.m. And then it will be maybe like 9:30, even though I know that's not what it originally was. So I'll play around with focusing myself into a certain time that I prefer. So that is my general story. And I'm curious to hear if you guys have had experiences like that. And there is one other experience that I will share, and I feel like people do have this experience that I've heard of, where I did something. So something that normally was like hour and a half, there had only been like 15 minutes that passed by. I My gallery is by the beach, and but it's really close. It's like a block and a half, but it's like there are long blocks like up a hill, and then like the beach itself is really wide. So for me to walk from my gallery down there is at least like 10 minutes, maybe 15 by the time I get to the water. So one day it's 3:45. I leave my gallery, go to the beach, get in the water, talk to some people, took a nap, took a long walk, like down to the next town and back. I mean, it sounds farther than it is, but like at least a half an hour walk, 30, 40 minutes. Like I walked pretty far and I had already done all this other stuff. And I left my gallery at 3:45. And after all of that, which minimum should have taken an hour, like minimum, more like an hour and a half, my my clock, my phone showed 4:15. So it showed half an hour, something that I would say was at least an hour and a half. That was really disorienting. That was more disorienting than seeing the clocks change, because there was actually like the feeling of a passage of time. And then all of a sudden it just wasn't that. It's like, I don't understand. That's weird. I kept like retracing my steps. Like, have I not been down here that long? Okay, but eventually I went with it. And then the other thing I want to say, um, I love this discussion of time. And I like that this is happening in my world. And I like the idea of time being very malleable. And for a long time, keep using the word time, um, I have been focused on not being in the regular time frames that other people are in. So I'm a creative person, and for a long time, I've been an entrepreneur. I've done some different things. And before I started selling my artwork, I did social media management and content creation, which is really how I started to take a lot of pictures and people start to want to buy them. And so when I was doing the social media, I was running a lot of accounts, like big business accounts. And so, I worked in marketing and I had to be very aware of the consciousness, the collective consciousness, and how people move in that space and the things that they're talking about and are aware of. And so, the one thing that I noticed is there's this obsession with like the weekdays suck and the weekends are when you have fun, or the evenings, but especially the weekends, especially like Friday, like that's when you have fun. Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of sucks because then comes Monday, and like this narrative, and oh, when I go on vacation, that's when I'm really gonna have this fun life, right? So I became very fixated on stepping out of that. I became so focused on, I don't care if it's Tuesday, if it's Saturday, if it's the middle of the night, if I sleep all day. Every day is vacation. Every day is fun. Everywhere I am is interesting. And so that is really what sparked, I mean, the few things sparked the outpouring of creating artwork, but a lot of it has to do with that. Like, I'm just walking by some seats and they're so cool and interesting. And this is so fun. I'm looking at a palm tree and I feel like I'm on vacation, right? it doesn't matter what day or time. And so then I stopped, I don't have like, if I really need to get up, I'll set an alarm. But it's my day-to-day life, I really don't have a big awareness of days and times. And I really have amazing, I started just like on random Tuesday, I'll just go to Disneyland because why not? I don't have anything else to do. Or on a vacation, I'll just up and drive somewhere and take a few days a holiday. Or it's just, I just do whatever. I made it so part of my being of I don't want to be limited in that way. And so I think a lot of things that are happening to me now, like I've stepped so far out of the regular schedule for the most part. I mean, obviously, I still like if someone wants to come make an appointment, great. I'm happy to schedule it. But day to day, the days kind of blend, the weekends, the weekdays, it doesn't mean anything to me. And I would say that if you can implement that in your own life, I don't know who watches this or what you do, even if you have like a corporate job, let it be fun. Let yourself have an adventure. Let Monday be fun. It's the start of something. Or Tuesday, what we had a random thing happen in the office. Like, let yourself have some adventures. Let yourself look at regular things as super fun and interesting because they really are. And the more that I do that, I mean, now I'm just like all in. I'm like, whoa, this pen, are you kidding me right now? Like, how many? What kind of the evolution of this pen? You think it's like this basic thing, but it's not. This represents like thousands of years of desire for communication and portability. I mean, like it really, if you really think about everyday objects, they're amazing. We take everything for granted. But the more I stepped out of all of that time focused life and fun, like the rules of like we have fun on the weekends and the weekdays suck or whatever. Like the more I just stepped out and left that behind, it opened up that everything is play, everything is fun. And so I just highly recommend, like, side note, because I feel like it's related to time. I feel like we are creating this world, we are creating like fixed ideas, but they don't have to be, right? I mean, I'm living outside of the norm. But a lot of times I'll find myself like, is that wrong? And then I kind of punish myself. And I'm like, what am I doing? Right. I think, oh, I should do this or that. And I'll step back in and then I see myself and I step out. I want to live in a world where there's no real days. Like it's just like this fun, flowing, magical place, right? And if you like structure, if you like structured times, great. Like you can have it. I don't want to take away options, but I want people to play in whatever space feels good to them. And wouldn't it be fun, right? If we can move different points on the timeline. If you're thinking, gee, I wish it was earlier, and then boom, it's earlier. And you could just accept it. Anyways, these are the things that I think about. If you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. I know this video went really long. So I don't know if people are still watching. But if you are, thank you. And I'd love to hear from people about your time adventures and what kind of world you want to live in with regards to time. And do you also believe that it's very malleable or you would like it to be malleable? And I think that's it. I'm going to keep working on the malleability of it all. Let you guys know if I can like teleport somewhere. I don't know. All right. Have a lovely rest of your day, morning, evening, afternoon. All right.